Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Josh Does Coding. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how we can set up a character with some basic movement using Unreal Engine's enhanced input system. We will start by setting up the character, then we'll go over how to set up the movements. With that said, let's hop straight into the video. So the first thing we're going to want to do is right-click on our content browser and hit New Folder, and we'll call this Character. And this is just going to contain everything related to our character. So what we'll want to do is actually create the character. So we'll go ahead and right-click in the content browser and select Blueprint class. From there, we're going to go ahead and select Character. The reason we select Character is a character allows you to give it input and it allows it to move. So we'll do BP, which stands for Blueprint, underscore, and I'll call this player character. Of course, you can call it whatever you would like. Now we'll go ahead and open our blueprints. You should see just some default components here, main thing being the character movement. This is what we'll actually use to handle our movements. So as long as you see this component, we are actually done with the character for now. What we can do is we can go ahead and make it so our game uses our new character. To do this, I'm going to come outside of the character folder. I am going to go ahead and create a new blueprint class. And this time we are going to do a game mode base. We will call this BP underscore. I will just call this game mode. Of course, you can call it whatever best relates to your game mode. And inside of here, we can come over to our details panel. And you will see we have a default pawn class. In this default pawn class over here, you're going to want to select your BP player character. Then you'll want to hit compile and you'll want to save it. Then you'll want to come up in the top left to edit. We'll come down to project settings. We'll go to maps and modes. And right here at the top, we have our default game mode. We want to set this to be our BP game mode. And down here, you can see it is now set to use our default pawn class of our BP player character. So great, we now created a character and we're telling the game to use that character. Now we need to go ahead and actually tell the character how to move. So to do that, we're going to set up Unreal Engine's enhanced input system. So I'm going to create a new folder inside of our character folder, and I'll call it input. The first thing we want to do inside of here is come to the right-click in the content browser and come down to input. And you will see we have an input mapping context. We will want to create a new input mapping context, which we'll say IMC for input mapping context, underscore, and I'll just say player. Inside of here is where you actually go ahead and say what your inputs are. So right here, you will start off with nothing. If you click the little drop down in the default key mappings, we can add a new mapping by hitting this little circle here. Then if you hit the new drop down here, we can go ahead and give it an input action. Now we actually need to create these input actions that we're going to be using to pass into the IMC. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our content browser. We're going to go ahead and right click. We are going to go to inputs and we are going to create an input action. I'll call this IA underscore for input action and we'll do move forward. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this for move forward, move back, move left, and move right. So we'll do IA underscore move back and IA underscore move right and left. It is possible to do forward and back and left and right in a single action. I just prefer doing it separate. So we'll do IA underscore move left. And we'll do IA underscore move right. Awesome. So now that we have these four input actions, we actually need to set them up. So let's go ahead and open up our forward. The main thing we need to do in our IA underscore move forward is under value type, we need to go ahead and select axis 1D float. This will allow us to find out how far down a button is being pushed, and we can use that value to adjust how fast the player is moving. This is particularly important if you're using a thumbstick. So we can go ahead and save that. And we need to go ahead and do the same thing for all 4 of our IAs. So you'll just do the same thing for all of them. Go ahead and set to axis 1D and then save them. So we'll go ahead and finish off with our move right. Sweet. So now that all of our inputs are set up, we can go ahead and add them to our IMC. So if we come back to our IMC player, we can do move forward, and we can now assign it a keybind. So if you hit this select key value, you can go ahead and press the key you want. So I will do W. Alternatively, you can click this drop down and you can search for what you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for each of them. So for move back, it will be S. For move right, it's going to be D. And for move left, it is going to be A. Now, it is worth noting that you are able to add more than one button. So for example, if you also want to use your arrow keys, you could hit this plus circle right here, and this will allow you to assign a second button. So for example, you can do the up arrow. I'm just going to do WASD. I just want to note that in case you were looking for that. Sweet. So now we have our IMC set up. We can go ahead and actually set up the code in our character. In our player character's event graph, if this is a new character, you will see a event begin play, event actor begin overlap, and event tick. We can go ahead and get rid of begin overlap and event tick, as we will only need begin play. We can then go ahead and right click and do get player controller. And from the return value, we can drag out and we can do get enhanced input local player subsystem. Then from here, we will drag out and do an is valid check. This confirms that the reference we're trying to access is valid, and it prevents any potential crashes that may occur if it weren't valid. If it is valid, what we want to do, drag out of your enhanced inputs local player subsystem and do an add mapping context. And then from is valid on our is valid node, we'll hook it up to this add mapping context. Then the mapping context on this node, we'll want to set to our IMC player, and we can leave priority at 0 and leave options empty. Essentially what we've just done is we've told our input system that it should listen for the key presses in the IMC player that we just created. Now we need to tell it what to do when the player presses these keys. So what we can do is we can right click in our graph and we can search for IA underscore, and we'll get our enhanced action events. So we'll start with IA move forward. And again, you should be using enhanced action events, not enhanced action values. It's enhanced action events. We'll select IA move forward. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is tell the character to move forward when this is pressed. So if this is your first time working with enhanced inputs, you'll notice we have a triggered, a started, an ongoing, a canceled, and a completed. Triggered is basically gets called after every single tick or every single frame while this key is being pressed. Started is while the key is first pressed. Ongoing is while the key is being held. Canceled is if you have a way to cancel your inputs, and completed is when the key is released. For us, we're going to go ahead and use triggered. So on triggered, what we're going to do is tell the player to move forward. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and get control rotation. We are going to go ahead and right click this return value, and we are going to split the struct. This will give you the X, Y, and Z values. From your Z, you want to go ahead and make a rotator. By default, it's going to hook your Z up to X. Make sure you hook up Z to Z and leave X and Y as 0. From this new return value, you'll want to go ahead and get your forward vector. And then from triggered in our advanced input, we're going to go ahead and add movement inputs. And we'll add our get forward vector into the world direction. So we just said basically move forward. Now for scale value, we're determining how fast forward we should go. And for that, we're going to pass in the action value. So basically, the more a key is being pressed or the further a thumbstick is being moved, the quicker it will go. If you don't see this action value, it is once again because in your input actions, you need to set the value type to axis 1D. So we now move forward. We need to make it so we can move back. To do this, what we can do is go ahead and copy and paste what we've done. So we'll go ahead and search for IA move back. Once again, we're just going to be using triggered. We'll paste what we did, and we'll hook up triggered to add movement input. The one difference here is because we want to move backwards, not forward, we need to multiply our get forward vector, and we need to multiply it by -1. So if you right click this bottom pin, you can turn it into a float, and we can do -1. We can then hook that up to the world direction, and again, we'll add the action value to the scale value. Now we need to handle right and left. It is going to be super similar. Once again, we'll go ahead and do IA underscore move right. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and paste the same 4 nodes we've been using. This time, however, instead of getting the forward vector, we want to remove that, and we want to do get right vector. We can then pass the right vector into the world direction, and pass the action value into the scale value like always. Then we'll go ahead and copy that, and just like we did for back, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to multiply the right vector by -1. So we'll paste what we just did, attach it to triggered, and then we'll multiply the get right vector by -1. So multiply, again, you right click on the pin, turn it to a float, and you can do -1. Then you'll pass that into the world direction, attach action value to scale value. You can compile and save this. Then we can actually go ahead and test this out. So in our editor preview, we'll go ahead and hit play. And then if you press W, you'll move forward. If you press D, you move right. If you press A, you move left. And if you press S, you move down. Of course, you can press multiple at once to move diagonally. And there you have it. You successfully have a character that you are able to move with your WASD keys. And that will be all for today's tutorial. I really do hope it helped you guys out. If it did, be sure to leave a like. Also, feel free to comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions on how I can improve these videos. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how you can rotate the player camera using your mouse. So if you are interested in that, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and good luck with your games.